There is a specific kind of silence that fills a bathroom at 3 in the morning. It's not peaceful, it's heavy. It presses against your eardrums and screams at you that something is terribly, irrevocably wrong. I know that silence better than I know the back of my own hand. For the better part of 2 years, that silence was my only companion. I need to confess something to you right now, something that most men would take to their graves rather than admit out loud. I developed a habit, a humiliation ritual. Every morning, before the sun came up, before my wife stirred in the sheets beside me, I would go into the bathroom, lock the door, stand in front of the mirror, and try to make myself work. I'm not talking about desire. I'm talking about hydraulics. I would stand there shivering on the cold tile, trying to coax life into a part of me that felt dead. And here is the terrifying realization that brought me to my knees. I could sometimes get a flicker of response if I was lying down, perfectly still, letting gravity do the work for me. But the second I stood up, the moment I got on my feet, it was gone. Instantly, like someone had turned off a valve. I would watch in real time as the blood simply drained away, unable to fight the downward pull of the earth. If you have ever experienced this, you know the cold panic I'm talking about. It isn't just about sex, it's about survival. Because deep down in the reptilian part of your brain, you realize that your body is failing. You are a machine that can no longer hold pressure. And if the pressure isn't there for your manhood, it's not there for your brain, and it's certainly not there for your heart. I was 54 years old, but staring at myself in that mirror, I saw a man of 90. I saw a man who was rusting from the inside out. The worst part wasn't the bathroom ritual. The worst part was the bedroom. There is a look a woman gives you when she realizes you are broken. It's not anger. Anger I could have handled. I could have fought back against anger. It was pity. It was a soft, quiet, crushing pity. My wife, Sarah, would lay her hand on my chest in the dark, and I could feel her thinking, "It's okay. He's just getting old. This is how it ends." She stopped initiating touch. She stopped wearing the silk nightgowns I used to love. She started treating me like a roommate, or worse, like a patient. I felt invisible. I felt castrated, not by a knife, but by time and biology. I felt like a ghost haunting my own marriage. I remember one specific Tuesday. I had just failed my morning gravity test again. I went to work. I'm a structural engineer. I understand load-bearing capacities and fluid dynamics, which made my condition even more maddening, and I felt like a fraud. I was designing systems to withstand hurricanes, but I couldn't maintain basic blood pressure in my own body. I felt a tightness in my chest that wasn't pain exactly. It was a hollowness, a lack of fuel. I realized that my ED wasn't an isolated incident. It was the canary in the coal mine. My arteries were screaming at me. They were clogged, stiff, unresponsive. I wasn't just impotent, I was a walking heart attack waiting for a trigger. So I did what we are all trained to do. I went to the doctor. I sat in that sterile beige office with the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, feeling like a defective product on a conveyor belt. The doctor was half my age, barely looked up from his iPad. I described the issue, the inability to maintain anything while standing, the fading sensation, the brain fog. He didn't ask about my diet, he didn't ask about my stress, he didn't check my arterial stiffness. He just scribbled on a pad and handed me a slip of paper, the blue pill, the magic fix. I took it. Of course I took it. I was desperate. I wanted to feel like a man again. But let me tell you about the horror of forcing a chemical solution on a mechanical problem. That night, I swallowed the pill. Within 20 minutes, my face felt like it was on fire. My sinuses clamped shut. But the scariest part was the pounding in my skull. It felt like someone was taking a sledgehammer to my temples. My heart wasn't beating, it was thrashing. It was racing at a tempo that felt dangerous, erratic. And yes, I got an erection. But it didn't feel like mine. It felt artificial, painful, like a balloon inflated to the point of bursting. I looked at myself in the mirror, face flushed unnatural red, eyes bloodshot, clutching my chest because the pressure was immense. I realized the insanity of what I was doing. I was taking a chemical that violently forces blood through arteries that are clearly clogged, stiff, and filled with plaque. I was redlining a failing engine. I was trying to push high-pressure fluid through rusty, calcified pipes. That is not a cure, that is a demolition. I realized in that moment, sweating and terrified, that if I continued down this path, I wouldn't die of old age. I would die of a stroke in my own bed, trying to prove I was still a man. I flushed the rest of those pills down the toilet. I decided I would rather be impotent than dead, but the despair that followed was darker than anything I had felt before. I was stuck. I couldn't use the pills, but my body was broken. I spent nights scouring medical journals, not the mainstream health blogs that recycle the same garbage advice, but deep dives into vascular biology. I felt alone, isolated in this struggle, but I wasn't alone. There are millions of us, men who are told that decline is natural, that we should just accept the rust. If you are exhausted by dangerous temporary fixes and want to understand the real mechanics of saving your own body, I've left a guide in the first link of the description, the vascular pressure blueprint. How mature men are flushing out arterial plaque to restore full, rigid blood flow naturally. My breakthrough didn't come from a hospital. It came from a man named Dr. Richard Coleman. I met him at a seminar on cardiovascular aging, a place I had gone to purely out of fear for my heart. Dr. Coleman was different. He was older, seasoned, with the sharp eyes of a man who has seen the limitations of modern pharmacology. We got to talking, and I, perhaps because I had nothing left to lose, told him about the gravity test. I told him about failing to stand up. He didn't laugh. He didn't offer me a prescription. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "The gravity test is the ultimate diagnostic. If you can't keep it up when you stand, your heart is losing the battle against gravity because your endothelium is suffocating." He explained it to me in terms I understood as an engineer. The endothelium is the inner lining of your blood vessels. It's only one cell thick. When you are young, this lining produces a gas called nitric oxide. This gas is the signal that tells your arteries to relax, to widen, to open the floodgates. It's what allows blood to defy gravity. But as we age and as we eat the wrong things, a layer of plaque, sticky, calcified sludge, coats the endothelium. It's like lime scale in a showerhead. The endothelium gets buried, it can't breathe. It stops producing nitric oxide. So when you stand up, your brain sends the signal, but the pipes don't open. The heart pumps harder, trying to force blood through a narrow, rigid tube, but it can't fight the downward pull of the earth. The blood drains out. You go soft, and your heart strains itself to the breaking point trying to compensate. Dr. Coleman told me, "You don't have a penis problem, son. You have a plumbing problem. You are clogged. And until you scrub those pipes clean, no pill in the world will save you." It was a revelation. The problem wasn't low testosterone. It wasn't performance anxiety. It was physical, mechanical obstruction. Dr. Coleman introduced me to a biological rescue plan. He called it the pipe cleaner protocol. It wasn't about forcing an erection. It was about rehabilitating the vascular system. He explained that there are specific nutrients, rare but potent, that act as biological solvents. When combined in a precise ratio, they bypass the liver and enter the bloodstream directly, triggering a massive sustained explosion of nitric oxide. But here is the key. It wasn't just about adding fuel. It was about scrubbing the rust. These nutrients were designed to gently erode the plaque, to heal the scarred endothelium, and to restore the elasticity of the arterial walls. He told me stories of men he had worked with, men in their 60s and 70s who had been written off by their urologists, men who were told to get penile implants, the ultimate surrender. They followed this protocol, and within weeks, their circulation had returned to what it was 30 years prior. I was skeptical. I'm a skeptic by nature. But the science made sense. It was hydraulics. Clean the pipes, restore the pressure. The system works. I started the protocol the next day. I didn't expect a miracle, and it didn't happen overnight. The first week, nothing changed downstairs. But something changed upstairs. The brain fog that had clouded my thinking for years began to lift. I felt sharper. Then I noticed my hands and feet. For years, they had been constantly cold, poor circulation. Suddenly they were warm. I could feel the blood reaching the extremities. The pump was working. The pipes were opening. Then came the morning that changed everything. It was about 3 weeks into the protocol. I woke up before my alarm, not because I had to pee, but because I was uncomfortable. I shifted the sheets and realized I had a morning salute that was so violent, so demanding, it actually hurt. It was a good hurt. It was the ache of life returning to a limb that had been asleep for years. I got out of bed. I stood up. I held my breath, waiting for the inevitable draining, the failure, the gravity to win, but it didn't. I stood there, feet planted on the rug, and I was rock hard, unyielding. The blood stayed exactly where it was supposed to be. I was fighting gravity, and for the first time in years, I was winning. I looked in the mirror, and I didn't see a dying old man. I saw myself. I saw the fire in my eyes return. I went back to bed. Sarah was still asleep. I moved close to her, pressing against her back. She stirred, confused at first, and then I felt her body tense, not in annoyance, but in shock. She turned over, eyes wide in the semi-darkness. She reached out, tentative, afraid to hope. When she felt the reality of it, the heat, the rigidity, she gasped. It wasn't a polite gasp. It was a sound of genuine, raw desire. We made love that morning. Not the careful, apologetic fumbling we had settled for in the past, but real, passionate, athletic love. I didn't have a headache. I didn't have a red face. My heart was beating strong and steady, a powerful engine running on clean fuel. Afterwards, lying there in the quiet, the heavy, suffocating silence was gone. It was replaced by a peaceful, satisfied calm. Sarah looked at me, tears in her eyes, and said, "I missed you." She didn't mean she missed the sex, though she clearly did. She meant she missed me, the confident, vital man she had married. This isn't just my story. Since then, I've shared Dr. Coleman's method with my brother, who is diabetic and thought his sex life was over. I shared it with a colleague at the firm who was going through a divorce because of intimacy issues. They all experienced the same thing. First, the warmth in the extremities, then the mental clarity, and finally, the return of the morning wood, independent of gravity. It is the universal sign of a healed vascular system. We are told that aging is a decline. We are told that we have to trade our dignity for a few more years of life. That is a lie. The body wants to heal. The endothelium wants to produce nitric oxide. It just needs you to clear the sludge. It needs you to stop painting over the rust with blue pills and start fixing the plumbing. You have a choice. You can continue to endure the humiliation of the gravity test, the pity in your wife's eyes, and the looming threat of cardiovascular failure. Or you can take a spanner to the works and fix the machine. You have the right to fix the root cause and reclaim your dignity. For those ready to skip the trial and error, the exact step-by-step method is in the first link of the description. The Vascular Pressure Blueprint. How mature men are flushing out arterial plaque to restore full, rigid blood flow naturally. Gentlemen, do not go gently into that good night. Do not let the rust win. Your body is a marvel of engineering, and it can be restored. I'm living proof. My wife is living proof. The fear is gone. The silence in the bathroom is gone. I stand tall now, in every sense of the word. If this story resonated with you, if you felt a pang of recognition in the pain I described, then you know what you need to do. Don't let shame keep you sick. Investigate the solution, clear the pipes, and get your life back. And if you want to hear more about how we are navigating this second half of life with strength and vitality, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are building a brotherhood here, a community of men who refuse to be defined by a number on a birth certificate. I'll see you in the next video, stronger than before.